every so often, which is really all the time, we find out the disparity. We're reminded of the disparity between what critics like and what audiences respond to. And right now, that example is Hereditary, which is just, pretty much across the board getting raves and gets a D+ cinema score rating from audiences. And, I will say, I walked out of Hereditary, and the first thing I said to my friend I was with was, audiences are going to hate this.
The one I was with hated it. You could just tell.
I was like, man, this is not the movie for. This is like way too much of a slow kind of burn for these people at obtuse. They ain't gonna dig that. They're expecting something like.
They want a jump scare movie.
Yeah, they want a jump scare movie. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Well, my viewing of it, I have to tell you right from the outset, is incomplete because I I went to go see it at AMC Theater, and it is a deadly quiet movie. The only quiet, this movie makes First Reformed in the noise area. It seemed like Star Wars, but or even a quiet place, But I was sitting in there watching the film, and I got through about half of it, and I sat through half of it with the next door theater playing a very, very loud, what's obviously an Indian musical / war movie, because you could hear the music pumping over, and then you could hear large explosions going on that were shaking the room. Well, it's like watching a Bergman movie and having The Exorcist next door to you or whatever, pumped up to enormous levels, and you just can't even concentrate. So I just went out and just said, I got to see it some other time. But I wasn't really, really thrilled with the movie. I thought it was a real. I thought the half of it that I saw, I thought was a real bore. But I leave to you guys to tell me, to put me straight and to get me back into the theater to see the rest of it. So.
What a tough task.
Can you do it? Can you get my ass back in that seat to finish the last half of it?
An unenviable task.
Okay. Give it a shot.
I'm kind of lukewarm on it. I certainly admired some things about it, but I felt like it's just more of this thing where it seems like every year there's one of these horror films that A24 is distributing that everybody is raving about, and there's a buzz that's deafening 6 months before it comes out, and you gotta see it, and it's gonna scare the hell out of you, and this, that, and the other, and you're just so psyched and pumped, and you get there, and it's like, nah, I don't think so.
It's just the big, it's the big Price is Right, bum bum ba-dum, bro.
Yeah, it kind of is. Although there are some effective moments in it. There are a few jump out of your seat moments, actually. Some really disturbing imagery. And I felt like the end of it cribbed a little bit too much from Rosemary's Baby, personally, when it gets to that point. I do feel like it's overlong. That was a major flaw. There are very few horror films that can get away with a 2+ hour length, and The Shining and Rosemary's Baby being two of them. And that's a rarefied league.
Yes.
Because most horror films cannot do that, and this is one that definitely should have been trimmed, I think, by a good 15, 20 minutes. Tightening it up would have helped immeasurably from my experience, because there were some scenes that just you felt like they were stretching out the suspense just for no other reason than to just stretch out the suspense and see how long we can drag it out. And it's not a D. It shouldn't be getting a D cinema score. It's not that bad. It's far from that. I mean, it's like I said, there's some good stuff there, it's just not the horror classic that everybody's talking about. It's you know, I just felt like and the end is a little. There was one person in our screening when we saw the screening on it. She told the media people, because they always ask for our opinion, you know, when it's over, and she said, I disliked it totally. I just didn't get anything out of it. I didn't like it at all. And that's all she had to say, and she just walked. So, and that was the one.
It made her angry, huh?
Yeah, she was. But I like I said, I was somewhere in the middle ground on it. Didn't hate it, didn't love it. But sir, I think it's better than the Babadook. I'll give you that, and The Witch, which are two other movies that everybody was just raving about. I thought both of those were more disappointing than this one. This one was a little bit better than that, marginally. So,
see, I really like the movie, and I think that there's been a trend lately of kind of very slow, deliberate horror movies that work on atmosphere and mood. The Eyes of My Mother from last year was another example of that, and I thought that was terrible. But what I like about this movie is it actually has something on its brain, as opposed to the others that we've been talking about from recent years. I think that what it does is it takes all these horror tropes, whether it be the seance or cults or ghosts and all this kind of stuff, and it infuses it with meaning. It infuses it with the theme that the movie is dominated by, and that theme, I think, is mental illness. But mental illness, as indicated in the title, that is almost a curse to the family. So this mental illness is kind of passed on. I mean, I don't think there's any question that she wasn't sleepwalking when she almost set the children on fire, and she hated them / loved them in equal measure, because she's dominated by this illness that covers her like a cloak, and her children have it too. And I think in terms of the horror movie aspects of it, the beheadings that happen a lot in the movie, I think it's their way of, when they finally perish from this illness, they lose their head, because what they have is a sickness of the mind. I think the cult stuff at the end of it, and up in that barn, you see all the people that have lost their heads, like this long line of victims from this illness, and he's the one left standing. He's the one that carries the throne. They even put a crown on his head at the end of the movie. There's something that the teacher says early on, where the teacher says, "Can we empathize more with a character who has a choice, as opposed to a character who's born with this condition?" Like, I think a lot in the movie goes right back to reinforcing that theme, and I wasn't prepared for that, so I didn't catch every nuance or that it was giving me, because I thought I would be watching this movie just like any other, and most movies don't have any kind of, deeper theme.
It's true.
Yeah. You don't have to watch those movies in that way. But like halfway through this, I started recalibrating myself. And okay, I know what this movie's getting at. So I do want to see it again, because I think a lot of more of those connections will come to me. At the same time, there are parts of the movie that are so brutal and just awful and unpleasant that I almost don't want to see it again. But another thing that sets this apart is the performances. Toni Collette, I mean, her performance is like set to 12, and it's such an emotionally wrought piece of acting from her. And Alex Wolff, who is the teenage boy, which I don't think he's a teenager. He's been around for a while. He's usually one of the best things about any movie that he's in. He was the only thing I liked about My Friend Dahmer. And I think he is outstanding in this movie. There is a section when he's in the classroom where he's going crazy and he smashes his face against the desk. But it reaches a level of hysteria that is so primal and so visceral. I think there's such a lot to savor in these movies. And if you want the jump scare, there is one of the most effective shots I've seen in recent horror movies. near the end of Toni Collette banging her body against a cellar door that is such like a, oh my God, that's incredibly creepy. That sequel shot.
Like, well, it looks like I have to. It looks like I have to revisit the theater again. You've convinced me because got to go back and take a look at it and check it out because obviously I didn't get to the best, most effective part, and I don't know. I think I need to go and check it out again, but.
I would just say, and maybe you still won't like it, but I will say any movie that has loftier ambitions than its genre typically indulges in is worth investing time in. And I think this one certainly does. And it's executed. I mean, in terms of mood and pace and framing, and I think it's executed beautifully. And there's little tells too, like it is almost like a cult. Like the people that suffer from this illness form their own cult, and they pop up throughout the movie. There's even near the very beginning, there's that really creepy shot at the funeral, and there's one standing in the background with a big smile on his face. I don't know if you guys noticed that shot.
Wow!
Just out of nowhere, and it is frightening. But I understand a lot of audiences don't know what the hell this movie is, and they don't go to horror movies to be confused.
Yeah, true.
But I think my audience was just totally distracted by their snacks. They were just eating away, just grazing away. You could just hear all the crackling and the crinkling, and it really went on for an hour, and no one said anything. I went out and complained about the sound next door and tried to get it cut down, and I just could not concentrate on the movie, and they did not do it. So I just got the hell out of there and just said I'm just going to give it another shot at another time on a quieter day. At a quieter theater.
There's a moment later in the movie where Toni Collette's character, I'll cut this part out because I don't want to give it away, but where she's trying to cut her head off, and it's just, oh my God, it's just painful. And especially if you feed it into the context of, I need to get this out, I need to exercise this,
Well, as a sufferer of mental illness myself, I think I'll be able to find something to empathize with in the movie, and so I'm a lot more curious about it now.